You ever have one of those moments where you just feel completely stuck? Well, today we're going to talk about a show that absolutely nails that feeling. We're diving into the 2006 anime Welcome to the NHK. This thing it's a gut punch. It's this incredibly powerful, sometimes really uncomfortable wake-up call about what happens when life just kind of slips through your fingers. And man, it does it with a raw honesty that you won't forget anytime soon. And boom, right there. That quote, that's the entire feeling of the show, bottled up. A repeated cycle of self-loathing and a life that has no purpose. I mean, wow. For some of us, that might hit a little too close to home, right? It's that feeling of just stagnation, like you're trapped on a hamster wheel and you just can't get off. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack here. All right, so Section 1, Welcome to the Rut. To really get this story, we've got to understand the core problem and the guy who's living it. Okay, so the whole show is built around this real-world phenomenon in Japan called hikikomori. And let's be clear, this is way more than just being an introvert who likes to stay home. We're talking about a complete and total withdrawal from society. It's this extreme form of social isolation, usually kicked off by some intense anxiety or pressure, and it leads to people literally just not leaving their rooms, for years sometimes. And that brings us to our guy, Tatsuhiro Sato. He is the textbook definition of a hikikomori. He's 22, dropped out of college, and now he just exists in this tiny apartment, all paid for by his parents. The outside world absolutely terrifies him. And here's the kicker. To make sense of his own failure to act, he's cooked up this massive conspiracy theory. He blames an evil, secret organization, the NHK, for everything wrong in his life. It's the perfect excuse. It means nothing is ever his fault. So, when you're that deep in a hole, what do? Well, for Sato, he's on a desperate search for a savior. He's looking for that magic bullet, that one person or thing that's going to come along and just fix him. And wouldn't you know it, two potential saviors show up. But, and this is a big but, they're both false hopes. On one hand, you've got Misaki. She's this mysterious girl who literally shows up at his door and offers to cure him. But you quickly realize her help is way more about her own issues and needing to feel in control. Then you've got Hitomi, an old friend, who instead of helping, just pulls him deeper down the conspiracy rabbit hole. I mean, she almost gets him to join a suicide pact. So yeah, both of them represent this really tempting idea that someone else can fix your problems, and both show why that's a total dead end. But here's the most tragic part. Underneath all the conspiracies and the desperate search for a savior, deep down, Sato knows. He knows it's on him, he knows he's the one who got himself here, and he's the only one who can get himself out. That little voice of truth is always there, buried under everything else. Okay, so if waiting for a savior doesn't work, what about finding a purpose? This brings us to the next chapter of Sato's story, the game of false hope. He kind of accidentally falls into a project that, for a little while anyway, gives him a reason to actually do something. So his neighbor, Yamazaki, basically shanghais him into helping make a video game. It's an adult anime game, and Sato, who has absolutely zero confidence in himself, gets the job of writing the script. And you know what? For a while, it works. It becomes this lifeline. Yamazaki is constantly on his case, giving him deadlines, pushing him. And for the first time in a long time, Sato has structure. He has a goal. It's a temporary fix, for sure, but it's a powerful way for him to escape the noise in his own head. But this whole game-making arc, it gives us one of the wisest, most grown-up lessons in the whole series, and it comes from Yamazaki. See, he ends up having to abandon his big dream. He moves back home to his family's farm. And you think, oh man, that's so sad. But then, he writes to Sato, and he says he's actually happy. He's found this unexpected joy in a totally different life. And it's such a brilliant point. Sometimes giving up on the dream you thought you wanted isn't failing. It's just finding happiness where you are. All right, now we get to it. The man in the mirror. This section, this is where the show just rips open the whole issue and gets to the absolute psychological core of why people stay stuck. And it all boils down to this one massive question. A question that probably haunts a lot of us, not just Sato. If you know exactly what you need to do to make your life better, why don't you do it, right? We've all been there. We know we should exercise, eat better, whatever. So what's the block? Why is it so impossibly hard to just change? And the show gives us the answer. And man, it is a gut punch. It actually comes from another hikikomori Sato talks to. The reason is, I'm afraid. It's not laziness. It's not a lack of willpower. It's pure, paralyzing fear. The fear of changing a routine, even a horrible, self-destructive routine, because if you change it, who knows what could happen? What if it's worse? And that's the paradox, isn't it? This destructive lifestyle. It becomes a twisted kind of comfort zone. It's a prison, yeah, but it's a familiar prison. You know the walls, you know the routine. Inside that room, you're safe. You're safe from failure, you're safe from being judged, you're safe from the terrifying uncertainty of a future you can't predict. And breaking out of that, that's the scariest thing in the world. So, okay, if gentle inspiration doesn't work, and the fear is just too much, what's left? What could possibly force someone to break out of that cocoon? Well, the show's answer is pretty brutal. It argues that sometimes the push has to come from something much, much harsher. Let's just look at how Sato's world gets completely dismantled, piece by piece. First, Yamazaki, his one connection to any kind of project, leaves. Then Sato does what he does best and self-sabotages, pushing Masaki away, who, by the way, was bringing him food every day. And then the final blow. The ultimate safety net is gone. His parents call and say the money is cut off. And just like that, he has nothing. No friends, no food, no money. Rock bottom. And what happens when you hit rock bottom? You find a new motivation. Fear of death is the greatest form of motivation. For Sato, change doesn't come from some beautiful epiphany. It comes from pure animal desperation. When the fear of actually starving to death becomes more powerful than his fear of going outside, only then is he forced to act. There's literally no other choice. And that brings us to the end. A contract for tomorrow. And let me tell you, if you're expecting a simple, happily ever after ending, you are watching the wrong show. This is one of the most realistic endings I've ever seen. So what's the grand finale for Sato? Does he become a famous game designer? Nope. He gets a blue-collar job just to pay the bills. He and Misaki, who are both still, let's face it, pretty broken people, they make this weird, codependent contract to, well, to keep each other alive. It's not a cure, it's not a fairy tale, it's messy, it's fragile, and it's this deeply, deeply human pact to just take it one day at a time. And when you get right down to it, that's why this show sticks with people. It's not trying to give you easy answers. It's a warning. It's a huge flashing red light. I think the number one thought people have after finishing this series is just a very simple, very powerful one. Whatever happens, I can't end up like Sato. So I'm going to leave you with the same question the show leaves us with. The future. It's a total blank slate, right? So when you look at it, what do you see? Do you see a canvas just filled with endless possibilities? Or do you see a void filled with endless anxiety and the potential for failure? Because how you answer that question, well, that might just make all the difference.